Hello everybody, you might recall a few weeks ago a video showcasing the work of Dr. Bruce Cornet. Dr. Cornet holds that there is an alien base on the moon, or there was an alien base on the moon. It is underground, part of the lunar surface is artificial, and this is revealed from photographs. This is a follow-up video, enjoy! Now, have you ever wondered what that huge Copernicus crater on the moon is all about and why it's so unique and huge? And have you seen those huge rays crisscrossing the moon? Well, you're going to find out a novel and new approach to tackling that problem. Dr. Cornet figures on an ancient high-tech civilization in his analysis, and he interprets things from that paradigm. I think it's a novel and brilliant approach. Here we go. The following is Dr. Cornet's work. In anticipation of a follow-up video on the moon, Dr. Cornet accessed his image files from the days with Richard Hoagland. The following is evidence for a great flood on the moon, caused by a deep bolide impact that formed Copernicus Crater with its radiating splay of ejecta. We'll start with Google Moon image of Copernicus Crater to the left and Urquhart Crater to the right. It has generally been assumed that the radiating pattern of lunar material and dust extending for hundreds of miles from the impact crater was due to hypervelocity gases and debris being blasted out of the crater. While studying orbiter images of this region on the moon, Dr. Cornet wondered why this is one of the very few large impact features with such an extended apron of ejecta. Hypervelocity flow of gases, however, should proceed outwards and upwards into the vacuum of space, but the ejecta around Copernicus seems to be made of solid debris and dust, which proceeds only a distance from the impact location, and then fades and disappears. Beyond that point, one can detect anomalous sinuous features more characteristic of water erosion and deposition on Earth. And the ejecta rays hug the lunar surface, suggesting they were laid down by water, not gas. Enoch in the Book of Enoch 14:8-24 says, "And drew nigh to a spacious habitation, built also with stones of crystal. Its walls too, as well as pavement, were formed with stones of crystal, and crystal likewise was the ground. Its roof was the appearance of the running of the stars and flashes of lightning, and among them were cherubim of fire whose heaven was water. A flame burned around its walls, and its portal blazed with fire. When I entered into this dwelling, it was hot as fire and cold as ice. No trace of delight or of life was there. Terror overwhelmed me, and a fearful shaking seized me." Heaven is usually applied to a realm above, indicating that Enoch was probably situated in a lunar geodesic chamber below another chamber filled with water, which he could see because of the semi-transparent stone crystal walls. Thus we have evidence that the alien base held water, presumably in large chambers specifically designed to hold life-giving water. Thus, the question of where water came from to produce a flood on the moon may have been answered by Enoch. As the velocity of outflowing water from the Copernicus impact decreased, the debris it was carrying from the impact hole would be laid down in a linear trail or ray until the velocity of that water decreased to well below 60 miles per hour. Then the water would begin to erode and cut down into the lunar surface in places, forming sinuous river channels which can be detected just beyond the outer extent of the ejecta rays. Beyond that point, the water would spread between the many north-south oriented linear ridges, identified by subparallel lines in the following figure, where it apparently eroded the thin artificial surface of the moon in between those ridges, revealing underlying chambers as are exposed in the city area of Hoagland. The lunar images in Google Moon are poor in quality and only the larger features can be detected, suggesting that the Google Moon mosaic was made from orbiter satellite images. That would explain their low resolution due to greater satellite distance in orbit and lower camera resolution than images taken with a Hasselblad camera from the orbiting command modules of Apollo 11, 12, 14, etc. Two adjacent orbiter images are shown below. The quality of Google Moon images, however, has been reduced from those of these orbiter images. Enoch Crater can be seen in the center. When one adds labels for anomalous features recognized by Hoagland and his lunar team in the early 90s, Enoch Crater, the mountain and cliff, city square, the city area of exposed sublunar chambers can be located. Compare the orbiter images of the mountain with the Hasselblad images below. One can see a substantial improvement in image quality for Hasselblad images of the city taken from the Apollo command module in 1969 and later missions. During this preparation, Dr. Cornet looked at the area around Enoch Crater on the Google Moon images. He was surprised to see that the city area imaged above was blocked out, as it had been in the original NASA catalog image for Apollo 10. In that catalogue, this picture, AS10324822, indicated by the red dot, was ordered by Hoagland out of curiosity, despite the fact that the representative image in the catalogue was black. He was shocked to get back a high-resolution Apollo image that showed lunar anomalies. Below the catalogue pages is the image showing the elongate mountain with cliff face, City Square, and LA on the moon. The images that Google received from NASA to make their map of our moon also show the city of Hoagland covered up. This tells us that the missing data exposed in Apollo images are real and important. But let me make it clear, the responsibility for the missing data falls on NASA, not on Google. In conclusion, the Copernicus impact event apparently punctured many chambers filled with water below the lunar surface. The energy imparted by that impact pressurized and energized that water to the extent that it shot out of the crater hole at high velocity, forming a huge geyser which may have reached many miles in height. As that hot water cascaded back to the lunar surface, it spread out in radiating waves and traveled many hundreds of miles outwards. As its energy dissipated, the water began forming sinuous river channels in some areas, or was momentarily backed up by linear ridges, which abound to the east around Enoch crater delineated in Cornet's map. This flood ripped up the thin artificial surface and exposed the city of Hoagland north of a large east-west oriented mountain with flat vertical cliff face. Once the floodwaters stopped flowing, they instantly froze in the frigid cold of space and then slowly sublimed or disappeared into space over hundreds and thousands of years. Question: was the Copernicus event natural or intentional, caused by an enemy of the Watchers who lived in the underground alien base? Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. See you soon.